13 years ago, a loud, unknown Irishman walked into an arena in Boston and beat a quiet young prospect from Hawaii. What almost nobody realized at the time was that they were watching two future legends share a cage before either one was famous. And there was a strange, painful detail buried in that night. The Irishman tore his knee during the fight and won anyway. 13 years later, those same two men ran it back on one of the biggest stages the sport has to offer. And in the cruelest twist imaginable, history did not just rhyme, it repeated itself almost exactly. This is the story of McGregor versus Holloway 2, and one of the most shocking main events in recent memory. To understand why this fight mattered so much, you have to understand where both men were when they finally met again. Conor McGregor had not fought in 5 years. His last appearance ended in horror with a snapped leg against Dustin Poirier back in 2021. In the years that followed, his career became a saga of false starts, controversy, and endless speculation about whether he would ever truly return. So when this comeback was finally booked, it was massive news. Love him or hate him, McGregor is still one of the biggest draws combat sports has ever seen, and the world wanted to know if the old magic was still in there. Across from him stood a very different kind of legend. Max Holloway had grown from that shy young prospect into one of the most beloved and respected fighters alive, a former featherweight champion, a record-breaking volume striker, and the owner of some of the most iconic moments the sport has produced. For this fight, Holloway was even moving up in weight to welterweight to make it happen. It was billed as a rematch 13 years in the making, and it headlined a stacked card in Las Vegas during the UFC's biggest week of the year. But to really feel the weight of it, you have to rewind to that first meeting. Back in 2013, in Boston, McGregor was still climbing, still an outsider trying to prove he belonged. Holloway was even younger, one of the youngest fighters on the entire roster, a raw kid with obvious potential. McGregor controlled the fight and won a clear decision, but at some point during those rounds, he tore the ligament in his knee and he gutted out the rest of the fight on a wrecked leg anyway. It became part of his legend, proof of the toughness that would carry him to superstardom. Neither man was a household name that night. Both would become exactly that. So when they finally signed to run it back, the story wrote itself. The brash superstar chasing one more moment of glory. The humble technician who had quietly become an all-time great. Two careers that started in the same cage, colliding again more than a decade later. If you are enjoying this breakdown of one of the wildest recent nights in the sport, take a second to subscribe. We break down the biggest fights, feuds, and stories in combat sports every single week. And then came fight night, and everything fell apart in seconds. The arena was electric. 5 years of waiting, 13 years of history, all of it building to the moment the cage door closed. McGregor came out firing, eager to make a statement early, and then, in the opening seconds, he threw a kick, and his right leg simply gave out beneath him. The knee buckled, he dropped to the canvas, and in an instant, the roar of the crowd turned into stunned silence. McGregor, ever defiant, tried to keep going. He wanted to fight on, but the injury was obvious, and the referee stepped in and waved it off. The official result was a win for Max Holloway by knockout due to injury, just over a minute into the very first round. The comeback the whole world had waited for was over almost before it started. And here is the detail that makes it almost unbelievable. It was the same leg, the same opponent. 13 years earlier, McGregor blew out his knee against Max Holloway and won. 13 years later, he blew out his knee against Max Holloway and lost. A career that was built on a moment of toughness in that first fight may have ended on a moment of heartbreak in the rematch against the exact same man. You could not script a crueler bookend. What happened next said everything about who Max Holloway is. There was no gloating, no cruel celebration over a fallen rival. Holloway made a point of honoring McGregor to the crowd, praising his toughness and revealing that even in there, he had been trying to stop the fight while McGregor kept insisting he could continue. It was the aloha spirit on full display. Respect offered in a moment that had to feel hollow, because no fighter wants to win like that. The crowd, robbed of the war they had paid for, let their frustration be heard, and Holloway, already looking ahead, floated the idea of a third fight to finally settle it properly. The rest of the card had its own drama. In the co-main event, the rising star Paddy Pimblett needed less than a minute to submit Benoit Saint-Denis, adding another quick, spectacular finish to a night full of them. But it was the main event, and the way it ended, that everyone would be talking about the next morning. So what does it all mean? For Conor McGregor, at 37 years old and just days from his 38th birthday, the questions are impossible to ignore. This was his first fight in 5 years, and it left him having lost 4 of his last 5. Nobody knows if he will ever step into the cage again, or if this strange, sudden ending was the final chapter of one of the most explosive careers the sport has ever seen. For Max Holloway, it was a victory with an asterisk of bad luck attached, an anticlimactic win in his welterweight debut, but simply the latest entry in a career that keeps adding to its legend. Some great rivalries get the perfect ending they deserve. This one got a cruel one instead. The knee that helped make Conor McGregor a legend in a Boston cage in 2013 may have written the last line of his story in a Las Vegas cage in 2026 against the very same opponent. 13 years apart, the same twist of fate, and a fight fans waited more than a decade for that lasted barely a minute. So here is the question worth sitting with. After an ending like that, does Conor McGregor deserve one more shot at a trilogy to close it out properly? Or was that heartbreaking night in Las Vegas the sign that it is finally time to walk away for good? Drop your take in the comments. We genuinely want to hear it. And if you want more real stories from the world of fighting, the biggest fights, the rivalries, and the moments that define careers, hit subscribe and stick around. We have a new one for you every single week.